What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Wind Up on YouTube. Today, I have a very special deck profile that I want to discuss and show all of you. I am super hyped about this. Ice Barrier has finally gotten some support. Finally, these guys have literally opened the floodgates, and they are almost to the point where you can say it's a competitive deck. I love this deck. There's a new Frozen Chain structure deck that's been sweeping across the internet, and everyone's talking about it. Everyone's posting deck profiles and ideas, combos, explanation videos. This is something I came across recently, probably yesterday. I have been busy researching other things that were kind of more important for my channel, but this caught my eye and I just had to make a video on it. I had to put my own flip and twist to the deck profile itself, to the actual structure deck, to the modifications made online. But let's get straight into it, y'all. Please bear with me on this one. These guys are a little new and I'm still testing out a few things on Wygo Pro. I'll be posting some dueling videos later on in the week, but as of right now, I'm just doing deck profiles just to get you an idea of something fun and interesting to play with. Like most of my videos, I'm just here to entertain you and give you some information that you might be able to use to have some fun. Let's get into it. We have General Wayne of the Ice Barriers. This guy is amazing. From what I've seen, he summons himself from your hand if you control an ice barrier and basically searches your deck for an ice barrier spell or trap card, add it to your hand. Wonderful card. He's basically a macrocosmos for spell and trap cards for your opponent while he's on the field. They just banish anything they activate, anything you destroy. Great card. I run him at 2. I'm going to not try to get too much into details about the cards themselves, but I will just give you a deck list. Let's get on with it, man. I'm rambling on here, man. I'm just so hyped and so excited about this. Mirror Master of the Ice Barriers. I'm using 3 of these just for a test phase right now. I'll change the numbers eventually and probably do an updated version of this deck by the end of tonight or tomorrow morning. But Strategist of the Ice Barriers is another guy. I think he's cool at 1. 2 is a little much for me. I don't really get the chance against my opponent's meta combos to play what I want, so just 1 of him, just in case I can use it. It's just fun. This thing is called Vessel Miko of the Ice Barrier. Beautiful card. Love the artwork. I run 3 of her. One of my favorite cards, and also one of my least favorite cards in the deck, is Defender of the Ice Barriers, an older version of the Ice Barrier archetype. He or she, whatever this thing is a tuner, and it's going to help you go into your synchro plays. Basically blocks most monsters' attacks with 1600 or more attack points, as long as you have another Ice Barrier on the field. Great card, but not so great as to put more than 1 in the deck. I mean, you can do what you want. Me personally, I like it at 1. It's just comfortable there. Moving on. We got our level 2 Prior of the Ice Barrier. This guy's basically your summoner for almost anything, I believe, that's in graveyard. Just 3 of those standard, I would say. Attendant of the Ice Barrier. Great card. It's got some graveyard effects, or at least a graveyard effect that I like. I'll talk about that later in another video. Frost Spirit of the Ice Barrier. This guy is just amazing. He's basically a foolish burial for your Ice Barrier monsters. On to spells, we have Raigeki, the Calm After the Ice Barrier Storm. 3 of those. 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. I haven't seen a lot of people using Spell and Trap Destruction or Monster Destruction, so I threw in Harpy's Feather and Raigeki as just, staple destruction cards for the deck. They could use a little support in that area. I'm running more Ray of Greed because the water monster ratio in the deck is pretty up there, so 2 should be fine. I don't think you need 3, but 2 is definitely a good, comfortable number. Surface, wonderful card. I'm thinking about bumping this up to 2, possibly 3 for my little guys. Any level 3 or lower water type, or sorry, not water, fish, sea serpent, or aqua type in your graveyard. You can bring it back. 1 day apiece. You're going to see that in pretty much every one of my decks. Dark Ruler no more. This card, self-explanatory, shut off all monster effects your opponent controls. Upstart for draw power. Foolish Burial, just to send things to grave. Monster Reborn, because it's Monster Reborn. Medallion of the Ice Barrier, this is your searcher card. Just add any generic Ice Barrier monster from your deck to your hand. End of story. No restrictions. Salvage, recycle power, gotta have at least one of those. Fury of the, what is this? Kyrushin? Is that how you pronounce that? If I'm butchering the name, please let me know. But Fury of the Kyrushin, two of those things search for Toronto Tribute, and it basically blocks your monsters from destruction from graveyard by banishing it. Called by the Grave, it's down to 1, so boo-hoo, cry your eyes out. Clear Wall of the Ice Barriers. This thing is like a Monster Reborn, but only for level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monsters. And when you have 3 or more Ice Barriers on the field, this continuous spell card basically protects all your Ice Barrier monsters from being affected by your opponent's special summon monsters from the extra deck. It's just freaking wonderful. Anyway, moving on. Pulse of Trishula, or Trishula, as they would call it. This thing, I haven't really gotten to use this too much, but it does banish, and it's pretty cool as long as you control a synchro monster, but I put it at 1. Evenly matched, I normally put this as my generic get rid of stuff when I'm in a very tight spot. Usually I run it at 2, so you're going to see that a lot in most of my deck builds. Ice Dragon's Prison. This card I've been introduced to just yesterday for the first time. Didn't even know it existed until yesterday. This thing is pretty much a generic card for any deck, but I love it. You just target a monster in your opponent's grave, special summon it to your field, then basically banish one monster from your opponent's field, one monster from your field, but they have the same type. Oh my goodness. I can't even go. I can go on all day about that card and the combos and the plays you could make. The Icebound God. If 2 or more water monsters are on the field, target up to 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack. Also, its effects are negated. Level 5 or higher water monsters that are normal or special summon to your field while this card is in your graveyard, or sorry, when you do that condition and meet the summoning requirements of a level 5 or higher water monster, you can basically recycle this back to your field face down. So it kind of counts as 2 while it's just at 1 in the deck. Torrential Tribute at 2. I don't think you need 3, but you can if you want to just be one of those guys or gals. And no entry. This is my own little no shut off for the turn. Basically, no attacks for the turn. You just put everything in defense, and it's kind of a good combo with Vessel, Miko. Basically, if your opponent has monsters in defense while you control another Ice Barrier monster, they can't change their battle positions, which is kind of, it's kind of a stun, right, like, or a freezing tactic, maybe, I guess you would call it. Anyway, we have Coral. Totally awesome. The Shark. That summon's totally awesome. If you don't know who this guy is, then you're under a rock. You need to move from underneath it. Quandrax, Christian. We have the Tiger King. This guy's pretty good with the spell card up here, Clear Wall. Yeah, just bounce it back to hand and get him some attack points and then reuse it to summon a monster. Brionic of the Ice Barriers. I like Deep Sea Prima Donna because she's the Prima Donna, gotta have her. I chose to put in Black Rose Dragon and Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. These 2 cards are self-explanatory. They're not really in the deck for any specific combos or any type of interesting plays other than their own effects to just bounce stuff back to your opponent's hand and to destroy your opponent's board. This is a synchro spam deck, and the possibilities of synchro summoning are very high, and it's a generic synchro monster that I like to use. Both of them. They're just amazing. Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. We have White Aura Whale. Adamancipator, Ryzen. Trishula, the original. The new Trishula, which is Sub-Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This thing is freaking amazing. I could talk about it all day, but that's not what I'm here to do. And last but not least, my favorite synchro monster ever created, Final Sigma. You summon this thing in the extra monster zone, and it's pretty much untouchable if your opponent does not solemn it or negate its summon. End of story. It's a 3000 invincible beat stick. Okay, it's impervious to all effects, unaffected by any card effects, including your own. The only thing that can kill it is battle, and if you run something like Child's Play with this card, it just makes it a very sick combo. But I'll get into different combos and different cards and stuff later that I use. I thank you guys for bearing with me on this one. I know this was a long video, but this is the Ice Barrier Monsters new support, and I turned it into a deck that I like to call Sub-Zero. This thing has been fun for me for practice dueling. I'm going to test it out competitively online, and I'll bring some more videos of the online results of this exact version of this deck later on this week. And I thank you guys for choosing to tune in. Don't forget to like and subscribe.